Hi, I'm Chris Dudley, and I'm running for governor. Well, I'd start off right there by saying the race to the top to me epitomized why our lack of leadership in this state. The fact that we applied for the race to the top and our state was graded an F, to me, frankly, is embarrassing as someone who has 3 children in public schools. And then we're in committee now trying to decide whether we're going to reapply or not. And it's, I think in leadership, so let's get everybody in a room and apply and let's get it done. If Delaware and Alabama, Tennessee, states like that can do it, Oregon should be able to do it as well. As far as going forward, I think there's a couple of issues. Right now, we have approximately $10,000 per child is spent in our state for education. We have close to 30 kids in a classroom, so $300,000 per classroom. Does not feel that those dollars are actually getting to the classroom. So one thing that I think we need to do a better job is making sure that the dollars we spend actually get into the class. I'm a believer in greater autonomy and accountability. And this is talking to superintendents across the state, where we give the local schools more authority to direct their education. And the classic case here is, as I've been traveling the state, talking with the superintendent in Fossil, Oregon, who says that, you know what, why is it that our high school, which has 26 kids in it, why should we be under the same state mandates that, say, Beaverton is, that has 2,000 kids? So greater autonomy, I think, is important. I've also been watching programs and talking with Chalkboard, Stand for Children programs, pilot programs that we can learn from for education for our future. The fact that we're spending those dollars per student, but yet we're ranked 43rd in the country as far as results, says what we're doing is not working. And I'm very interested with the pilot programs that Chalkboard has going on right now, as well as in Redmond, the proficiency, the experimentation with proficiency rather than letter grades. I'm interested in that as well. And I think the bottom line is, should be an issue that is nonpartisan. We should all want the best education for our children, and I think when it's obviously not working the way we'd want, we have to be open to new ideas to do so. Well, I think they have different purposes. I think the private sector is where capitalism exists. That's where people are able to work, live the American dream, work hard. I believe if you work hard, apply yourself, good things will happen in a capitalistic society. I believe in our state, the biggest issue is we need more private sector jobs. And I'm of the belief that government doesn't necessarily create jobs, but creates the environment in which jobs are created. And so I think that is important. And I think where our Oregon is suffering right now, because our private sector job creation has been suffering for a number of reasons, whether it goes to taxation or just the attitude of government. That's a huge issue going forward. So on the public side of everyday life, I think the role of government in that case is to be there to do things that people cannot do individually or the private sector cannot do as well. And that I would talk about safety, police, roads. For now, it's education, hospitals are some of those different areas. But I think it's important that the public side doesn't get too big, which I believe that it has at this particular time. And I think we need to bring it back so it focuses on those core missions of what we need government to do. Well, I start off by rejecting a premise to a certain extent in that we'll have a $2.5 billion shortfall according to the essential budget level, which is arbitrary or a kind of a wish list of where we want our government to go. And to me, that is a level that is unsustainable. And in fact, Governor Kulongoski in his State of the State speech 2 weeks ago said as much. Said we're driving off a budgetary cliff and that we need to hit the reset button. The fact is that we're going to have $1.6 billion more in our general fund than we did the last biennium. So only in government is that really considered a cutback. But that being said, we're going to have to make cuts off that essential budget level to bring it back. I think we have to start off by the way we budget, that we should budget off projected revenues instead of arbitrary number. And I think to do that, there's a number of ways that I've proposed, and five specific ways of cutting back on our spending. One would be zero-based budgeting, which is, in other words, if we spent X last year, let's not automatically spend X plus an 12% increase. We really need to start from zero and work our way up and justify what we're spending dollars on. We also need to prioritize where our spending goes. So let's take care of those core priorities that I've talked, that the role of government should be in: education, police, roads, hospitals. But maybe government doesn't need to be in other areas, such as the sale of liquor. Maybe government doesn't need to be in the liquor business, for example. We have to bring back the size of government. I think it's important we cut back wasteful programs, and I've outlined the state stimulus program, the energy tax credits for certain parts of that, let's rein that back in. Then we have to look at our structural costs. I've asked for state workers to contribute to their health care plans. I think that's fair and reasonable going forward, and we need to look at what we're spending on retirement benefits and other areas and make sure that it's sustainable for our state. And the fifth area would be use of the veto pen, and that, as governor, that is something I will do. I will use the veto pen to rein in spending as well as to prioritize spending. I think that's important going forward. As far as environmental policy, my top priority, quite simply, is balance, and it's restoring some balance to our state. I think we've, at times, the pendulum has swung back in the 60s and 70s. It may have swung too far, especially in timber, as far as cutting down trees, but it's swung way too far the other way now, and I think there's a balance in between. And I think the lesson there is, I go back to a saying I've heard a while back, which was that the responsible farmer is one who leaves the land in better condition to his heirs than he inherited it. But that doesn't mean he doesn't work it. I think we can work it. I think we need to take advantage of the natural resources we have in this state. It's a tremendous opportunity for us. And I think we've gotten to a point where we're doing the worst possible scenario, which is not managing our assets, such as, give an example here, is Eastern Oregon, where a friend of mine who's a policy director talks of walking the land with an environmentalist and a logger, same timberlands, and they both mark down the same trees that need to come down for the health of the forest. Now, we're not doing, because of where we are today, we're not doing anything, and that's the worst management, in that we're allowing the trees to become overgrown, bug infested and dying, and then catastrophic wildfires are destroying them. So we're not getting anything out of them. And I think the answer is to have a management program that both conserves our real assets to the next generation, but also works those assets. Oregon as a state, I think this is a critical time for us. I think we've gone in a direction for the last 20 years that we cannot continue down, such as Governor Kulongoski said, we're driving off a budgetary cliff, so we have to make some adjustments, have no choice. I also think that as an Oregonian, that I've been disappointed that I think too often our state has been accepting of mediocrity. And by that I mean I talked about the race to the top, where we got graded an F. We're among the national leaders in hunger, homelessness, unemployment, education 43rd. I think we're becoming too accepting of that, and I think we need leadership to say, no, we live in one of the best state in the union. Let's take advantage of what we have here with strong leadership. We can do much better.